once these allegations came out with Vince McMahon and the lawsuit filed by Janelle Grant with sex trafficking, sexual assault, there's a lot of other stuff that's been coming out that people have been talking about in mainstream media has picked up on this a little bit, and a lot with YouTubers and podcasters and the wrestling sites with a lot of these allegations, going all the way back to 1992 from that scandal back then, the whole Ring Boy scandal, and then there's a lot of other stuff because there is very much a dark side to the wrestling business. Well, at one point there was a very dark side. It's maybe improved somewhat now, but it's behind the curtain. It's the backstage stuff with a lot of the ribbing, the hazing, the bullying, the whole wrestler's court thing. This stuff, what I'm about to play now, this came out about 3 or 4 years ago, and it was the former WWE diva Amy Weber. Amy Weber was in the company from around 2004 to 2005 time. Amy Weber was on the first Diva search back in around, it started around, I think it was around summer of 2004 time. That was the Diva search that Christy Hemme went on to win, but then Amy Weber went on to receive a contract with the WWE. I thought Amy Weber was a good character, good heel character. She was in the cabinet alongside with JBL, who was the champion at the time, Orlando Jordan, the Basham brothers, and I thought she did a pretty good job, to be fair. No doubt, attractive woman. I thought that kind of the feud she had with Joy Giovanni was all right, and I think that whole thing with the cabinet and the whole thing with the Big Show, that feud, and then there was the Kurt Angle's and his faction along with that. Yeah, I thought that was some all right stuff, to be fair. But she didn't last that long. She quit WWE, and this was around February 2005, and it was from after a tour in Japan, and a couple of things had gone down. And with this, one thing first off that happened was that a lot of the guys were out, and they ended up going to a strip club. And Amy Weber, who had been, she had been a model before WWE. One of the cards, these small cards you get when you're in those strip joints, it was a picture of her from her old days of modeling, and picture her quite scantily clad. And then through that, a lot of the guys, it got back, and then there was a bit of ribbing that went on, and maybe stuff about making comments that maybe she was like a porn star, or was a stripper and stuff like that. But that was a thing that was going on with the other woman as well, that this strip club was taking old pictures from, back when I think like Tony Wilson would have done like model and fitness modeling before that as well. And it was almost like they were advertising as if the divas were going to appear at the strip club, which is very, very misleading. But not only that, there was an incident on an airplane, and that was really the straw that broke the camel's back. And this involved Edge, and it also involved Randy Orton. So what I'm going to play the clip, and this was from her own YouTube channel, Amy Weber. So I'm going to play the clip, and I will react along to it. So here we go.
I leave WWE. Ultimately, what happened? So here we go. This is the scoop, right? You hear it here first, the truth. So, as I said before, I was training behind the scenes to actually have a real wrestling match. So, Joy and I, who I adore, we had been working really, really hard. Every time that we would get to a new city, we would be, rehearsing and practicing, and I would be learning. And we had like a 7-city tour in 10 days. It was crazy. 2 stops in Hawaii, Japan, Alaska. So while we were in Japan, actually, on the way back to Alaska, I was practicing. I was supposed to grab the rope and break my fall, and unfortunately, I couldn't get to the rope. She kicked me a little hard on the stomach. It was fine. It was not her fault. I landed on my tailbone. So they thought I might have cracked it. Nothing huge. I could still walk, but it was very painful. The trainer told me to go into the men's locker room and to grab 2 ibuprofen, which I did. He told me what to do. I did it.
Don't think that sounded like a good idea.
So when I was on the plane, on the way
Wonder
back,
if he knew that would get her heat.
We had more matches there, more TV to tape. I was laying across 3 seats. We were all sleeping, and I'm going to go ahead and call people out because this is a truthful video. Randy Orton decided to come up behind my chair, and he slammed into it like a linebacker so hard that I landed on the floor of the airplane. And then he said to me, "You're going to learn." Which was, I didn't understand what he was talking about. So
Sounds like Randy Orton.
turned around, went back to sleep. I was awoken by someone pouring a drink in my face. So immediately I popped up, I looked up, and I saw Edge, yes, you Edge, with a partially drank drink in his hand. There was a little bit left, and it was the same color that was basically all over me. So I stood up on the airplane seat, and I was eye to eye to him. And I said, "Do you have a problem with me?" And he goes, "What are you talking about?" So of course he denied it. The drink was in his hand. And so I said, "Come on, you want to fight me? Let's go. You want to be a man? Go ahead. Let's go. Let's fight me. You want to pour a drink on me?" And he kept denying it. But I know he did it. I saw the cup in his hand. So listen, at the end of the day, did I deserve it because I took 2 ibuprofen that the trainer told me to take and some ice from the guy's locker room? I don't think so. Just as a human being, just as a decent human being, you just don't do that to people. I didn't think I was better than anyone else, but I did feel like I was deserving of respect because that's what I gave to every other wrestler in that entire company. So when I got to Alaska, Shane McMahon was there. We were all getting our bags, and I was done. I just felt like I couldn't continue to be.
So there you have it there. Now, with this story, I mean, number one, right off the bat, I'm like, well, she's telling the truth here. I believe her. And, I mean, a couple of things. Number one, could you say it was a different time, different culture? Yes, you could say that. You could say that's an out to excuse, you know, the behaviour of Randy Orton, of Edge. I mean, I think Edge was like maybe 31, 32 at that point. So you think a guy like Edge would know better. Edge would probably come out and give a kind of statement of, "Oh, hey, we're young, we all make mistakes," and rah, 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 hold accountability. The standard type of written, prepared speeches that people do, you know, when they've been exposed on some shit. Randy Orton, I mean, this does sound like kind of like a Randy Orton thing that he would do. I don't even know if Randy Orton would deny it because he's the kind of guy that would probably even make light of it, you know. But when you're doing that, when he was slammed into the seat that a woman's in the line on, and it's caught you slammed in it so hard that you've caused her to fall to the ground. I mean, I know that's not exactly like hitting a woman, but it is more or less bordering on like physical assault. You know? And, I mean, I guess the whole thing was what she had heat because she was lying down. She was shattered, lying down on the plane, and she was taking up 3 seats, right? And I guess that being her in a rookie spot, that wasn't something you were supposed to do. That's hence the "you're gonna learn, bitch" comment comes from. But that's still, like, wrong. And again, that's just the typical wrestling bullshit. And maybe it's improved somewhat now. But it's the kind of thing where you hear it early on, like stories like the "you guys," they're not supposed to be using the ice packs if they're hurt, or or young people that have just been only there for a couple months, you shouldn't be going and getting a massage in the back and stuff like that. And I guess that's just the way it works. It's you got to earn these luxuries. It's like, okay, whatever. But again, it's like 2 guys going up, one slamming the from the back of this, you know, the seat. She falls down, and then another man just spills a drink on her. It's quite kind of crappy, you know, behavior. But again, this happened, 19, 20 years ago. But at the same time, you know, that's essentially what drove her. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. The stuff in Japan, probably it wasn't all that pleasant. And I think she did a touch on how JBL was kind of teasing her a lot with that stuff earlier on the video. But then she still referred to JBL as a big brother, you know. So it wasn't like, so many people are very critical of JBL for being like a bully and that. But it was really more so the incident with Randy Orton and Edge. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. And we've heard these stories about Randy Orton and about inappropriate behavior and the whole thing of going in a woman's belongings and doing stuff. And I don't think Orton's ever denied it. He's never admitted it, but he's never denied it either. I think he's even the kind of person to make light of these things. So he's a bit of a kind of questionable kind of character. Edge is somebody. I mean, that was around the time of the whole thing with Matt Hardy and Lita, where Lita was cheating on Matt with Edge. So again, Edge is kind of this guy, different guy. Like he's kind of like comes off like this likable, down to earth guy now, just with his wife Beth Phoenix and the kids, and like he's a homely guy. Like he's people perceive Adam Copeland Edge in a different way now, and maybe he's fully generally changed and changed for the better. Yeah, but I don't know. I think a lot of these people in the business, they've had this dark, shitty side, and they've always had it, but they just know how to. Edge is a smart enough guy to go to camouflage it. But you got a guy like Randy Orton who doesn't give a shit and who's like a dick and upfront about it, which in a weird way I can kind of like half-ass respect. But it doesn't kind of excuse kind of the shitty behavior and the crap way you've treated people. And there is people that I'm sure there's a few people that overall there'd probably be a whole list of people that probably Orton's played a part in, driving out the business. There's the whole thing with Kennedy, but that involved him and Cena. So I mean, this is just one thing. I mean, there's other stories from people from around that time, because this is kind of like the ruthless aggression era where there was a lot of characters that they flopped. They didn't last for a long time. But it didn't help when it was a lot of these like locker room leader veteran types were going out of their way to make their life hell. And it sounds like, I mean, Amy Weber was just very unlucky. There was the whole thing with her photo at the strip club picture from her past modeling days. That didn't help. And then, doing, lying on the, in the airplane, taking up free seats. That didn't help her cause either, but she didn't deserve that. She didn't deserve to be treated in that shitty way. And you know what? She stood up to Edge, But I think, she was about 33, 34 at that time. So when you get to that age, I'm 33, you run out of fucks. So her confronting Edge about that, and fair play to her, you know what I mean? But that's quite kind of disappointing behavior. Yes, I know this is 19, 20 years ago. But I think it's important to kind of like, to shine a light on a lot of this kind of like dark side of the wrestling business, because it's not all rainbows and unicorns. It's not how they want you to see them when they're on their social media with the big smiles on their faces, we're these big extroverts. There's a much darker side to certain characters, and yeah, I mean, again, Edge, with the whole thing with Matt Hardy and Lita, again, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there were stories at the time that Triple H wanted Edge fired for what he did, It was Matt Hardy who got fired as an end result, But, I don't know. I mean, Edge is perceived a much different way now. Randy Orton hasn't really changed. But there is a dark side to these characters in wrestling, and I suppose wrestling, it goes back to like the Carney days of that. The whole con men being involved and years ago, and there's the term marks. That's in the con world, the people that you dupe out of money or whatever it may be. They're referred to as marks. As wrestling fans, we're referred to as the marks, and there's obviously a negative connotation there. So not always, as much as a lot of people in the wrestling business, wrestlers can say, "Oh, well, we're nothing without the we're nothing without the fans. We're nothing without you guys." Behind the scenes, in private, a lot of them, they could just go, "Oh, those fucking marks, this and that," and just refer to the fans, but what they call as marks is just like dirt, Not everybody is how they appear to be. And I suppose Edge, you could expect, it doesn't surprise you about Orton, but I suppose that would maybe surprise some people with the way that, certainly how he's kind of been portrayed for the past, 10, 12 years as this, like the babyface, essentially. That would surprise people a lot with Edge, that he would, as a girl's sleeping, lying down in the airplane, that he would just go and spill a drink on her. But there you go. That's the video. That's my take on all of that, guys. So let me know. Feel free to like, subscribe, and give me your comment. What's your thoughts on all this? I mean, do you 100% believe Amy Weber on this? Do you think there could be parts of the story maybe not quite true? But give me your take and leave a comment, guys. But that's it. That's me for now, guys. So thanks a lot. Bye.